think my marriage is over because the trust in our relationship is totally fucking gone now.
Oh my god, it said I'm not sitting on the remote.
Then get up and prove it!
One of the biggest questions I get asked all the time is, how do I know when my marriage is over? How do I know it's time to leave my marriage? This is an awful place to be. I was in that place for 5 years before I actually made a decision. And most women contemplate divorce for 2 years before taking any action. You are treading water in this pool of what I call indecision purgatory. You don't know if your marriage is too good to leave or too bad to stay. But we need to figure this out for you, because how does it feel to be there? How does it feel to always be wondering? How does it feel to wake up and wonder what you're doing in this marriage every day? And is this as good as it gets? I've been where you are. I pondered that question for 5 years before I did anything about it. And over time, I just built up so much more resentment and fear because I didn't know what to expect. What I offer you is this. I have an on-the-fence strategy session where we will dig deep, you and I, for 90 minutes and really take a good look at your relationship. We're going to look at where you've been, how you got here, what you've done in the past to improve it, what you're willing to do next, and look at the 2 different paths possible. What does it look like if I stay? What do I need to do? What does it look like if I go? What does that look like? We'll work through that together so that by the end of 90 minutes, you'll have more clarity and feel a lot more relief to know what path to choose.
In short, pay for a session with me to learn how to ruin your marriage by injecting all the poison I've accumulated. When Chad left me, a man who brought nothing to the table except his seed, and whom I endured for 5 years because, he was the bad boy I liked. After I left that relationship, I realized I could capitalize on my experience, sell it to women in healthy marriages going through a rough patch, telling them that everything their husbands do is wrong, so they can be as happy as I am, without a husband, without a boyfriend, but ruining other relationships with my advice. Of course, I don't have a couples therapy or psychology degree, just my traumas from the chat. If you call now, I'll throw in a bonus half hour on how to secure the house, half of his money, and the kids. Don't miss this offer because this channel is always active in ruining marriages. If you doubt it, watch an example in the following video. Goodbye.
I'm depressed as fuck. 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 I am depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck. I'm depressed as fuck.
Night I come home and my wife said, Andy, we've learned to live without you. Like, me and the kids live without you. You're not here. First I get defensive and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, babe, look at the house. Look at where we live. Look at your car. Look at all this stuff. She goes, Andy, when you come home at the end of the day, you're exhausted. You're beat. You literally save 0 special energy for your family. We get leftovers. You think coming in and, hey babe, love you, and then sitting on the couch and high-fiving the kids is the man we want? Are you serious? So what are we going to do? I can just remember, man, I felt like I'd been deceived, and I had been deceiving myself is what happened. I had lost my way. I realized I'd looked in the mirror, I'd become fat, was losing my edge. I didn't even recognize myself. I thought that the paycheck was the value I was as a man. And you know what I realized? Dude, I need to change, and I need to change now.
In Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, there's a rule that says, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. He meant that you should take care of yourself as if you were taking care of your child, waking up early, feeding on time, grooming, taking to the doctor, to school, ensuring they become the best version of themselves, looking their best. However, some men forget to do this for themselves, often due to long work hours, worries, or the notion of not being selfish. The truth is, to be a successful man in life, to be a desirable man, you have to be selfish. That's why in older movies, you saw protagonists who were masculine but took care of themselves, were selfish, always putting themselves first, something attractive to women and everyone in general. As Andrew Tate says, when you enter a place and see several men, you can quickly distinguish a winner from a loser. The winner dresses better, takes care of his body, exudes masculinity, prioritizes himself, doesn't let himself be intimidated. Another thing to note is that when a woman loves her man, she doesn't mind confronting him, saying, "Love, we are losing you," not because of anything bad, but to express concern that he might be losing himself. This is something done by someone who genuinely cares about you. wanting their husband to be in the best condition. These women value their men. Another thing they might do is either give you a divorce or cheat on you. Kudos to these women for valuing their husbands.
You know, a lot of people will make the decision in their minds, but they won't be able to articulate it to their spouse. They won't be able to tell the truth. They won't be able to just say the thing that they most need to say. Other times, people will be able to have the very difficult conversation where they share that for them, the marriage is over and that the best next step is to unwind the relationship. But then they take no action. Like the next day, they wake up, they're both in denial, they pretend that everything is sort of fine, but it's super uncomfortable. Or I've also seen a larger number of people where they do take action, like where they will separate and they will live separately, not either in the relationship and not out of the relationship for years. So they never really walk through that final door. They just stop the bleeding of the day-to-day interactions of living together, right? So there's a bunch of different ways that people deal with this, but all of those examples are just different ways of getting stuck.
Every person is different, but my thought on this is that when a woman decides to separate, she has likely discussed it with all her close ones, pondered over it, and might even have consulted a lawyer. So when she finally approaches the man, it's often to give him an ultimatum. Brother, I won't tell any man who loves a woman not to fight to save his marriage. However, if it's a broken marriage, with a dead bedroom, a relationship where there's no peace, where certain topics are avoided, where you sleep in separate beds, get out of there. You don't have a marriage. You have a burden, someone who is there because they don't have a better option. As soon as they do, they'll discard you. So, if you already know it's broken and you're going to try to save it, better prepare a good lawyer, safeguard the remaining assets or your house, and mentally prepare for a long battle. Because as soon as she utters the word divorce, brother, that woman becomes an adversary coming for your money.
Different ways of getting stuck somewhere in the process. And so that's why it's not actually as straightforward as you might think. It's not just about the paperwork. So I could tell you story after story of where when women have this conversation with their spouse and try to explain why they made the decision that they did to end the relationship. And then there are lots of very, very difficult conversations because it's never just one conversation. There are pleas for another opportunity, another chance to make it right, another chance to make the changes that probably should have been made years ago and would have made a huge difference years ago and may or may not make a difference now. I can tell you infinite number of stories around when this happens, then the spouse goes on what I call good behavior, which is like being nice and doing things around the house because they don't know what else to do, right? But inevitably, months will go by or even years, and you'll realize that nothing has really changed. And then you're back to the same place, and it gets more and more frustrating and hopeless every time you land there.
Brother, sometimes the unknown is better than what one currently has. Once I heard a story about a guy who said when his wife asked for a divorce, it crushed him, broke his heart. But after the initial shock, he analyzed his life and realized he wasn't happy there. She had this plan that he would suffer and she would live the great life. So, he mentally prepared himself, initiated the divorce, set a year to wrap everything up. During this process, he started exercising, focused on how to earn more money, began engaging in different activities like dancing, swimming, cycling. He started traveling with groups, going on vacation tours, and began posting pictures, showcasing a fantastic life. His positive attitude even led to a salary increase. He mentioned that his life took an upward turn when he didn't see his loss as something bad, but rather as freedom and new experiences. You know what happened, brothers? On the day they signed the divorce papers, his wife saw him happy, more in shape, witnessed everything he had done. Now she was hesitant about the divorce, wanted to give it another try. But he declined, continued with his life, married a woman 5 years younger than his ex-wife. Brother, life can get better. You just have to look for it and not let yourself be crushed. Remember, it's an opportunity for change, not a death sentence.
One of the most important steps in healing from an affair, if not the most important step, is ending the affair. And in my book, The Courage to Stay, I talk about how important I think it is to send a breakup letter to the affair partner. The reason why is we really want to communicate to both the hurt partner and the affair partner that the affair is completely done. There should be no more contact. There should be no more conversations. That phase of our life is over. So in the book, I give you a sample affair letter, basically a sample breakup letter. And I thought I would read it to you now, and you can tell me what you think. Through the years, I've gotten a lot of interesting feedback about it, but let's talk about it. So if you have the book, this is on page 85. Here we go. This is the sample breakup letter. Amanda, out of respect for my wife, my children, and my marriage, I need to end our relationship immediately. I can no longer have any communication with you in any form. I realize that our affair was a very selfish choice, and my family deserves to be treated with love and respect. While I cannot undo the choices I've made or the pain I have caused to my family, I can work diligently to make amends for my behavior. I love my family deeply, and I will no longer do anything to risk their happiness. I will not be contacting you further, and I ask that you do the same. I do not want to see you or hear from you. Please respect my decision to end our relationship and have no further communication. Sincerely, Tom. So what do you think about this breakup letter? What would you add to it? What would you take away? I'll tell you a little bit later about the feedback I often get and why I worded things the way I did. So look forward to your thoughts.
These are the ones trying to sell you something. Many of them spin tales of marriages so toxic and abusive that they could be a Netflix series. But I wonder, if the guy was so bad, the devil on earth, why do they stay with them for so many years? Why choose to marry them? Why give them access to their lives? Oh, because they deceive them. Of course, they deceive you for 5 to 10 years. The thing is, brothers, they see the red flags and still get involved with them. Later, they come up with the idea of saving the man, thinking he's bad to everyone else but will change for them. Afterward, they go around saying they survived the apocalypse. That's why many of these stories seem like tall tales, stories they invent to later claim survivor status. Of course, I have to sell you something because all that I went through with Chad, with my guidance, my book, or my courses, I can save you. The worst part is there's always someone gullible enough to buy into it.
Whenever we were walking out of the restaurant, he opened the door for
Bare
me.
minimum.
Whenever we got back to his place, he complimented me on
Bare
my...
minimum.
Whenever we were going to bed, he gave me a forehead kiss.
Bare minimum.
Whenever I left the next morning, he texted me to make sure I got home.
Why do men not understand hints in the slightest way possible? Okay, what happened to men being able to pick up on signals when women fancy them? Okay, I'm not making this 10-second eye contact for you to just walk out the room and pretend I don't exist, babe. Making the eye contact and even giving you a smile, and you're not doing anything about it. So you're calling me ugly and fat is what you're doing. Why don't they pick up on the hints that I'm madly in love with them? I've already envisioned that we're having 10 kids and we're having 2 dogs named Bert and Alan. You've already met my family in my head. We're already married, we've already settled down on a farm, and I can see you milking cows, to be honest, in our future, but you're not even going to reciprocate that? I've made eye contact with you and this is what you give me. Why do men not pick up on hints? Tell me why. Tell me why. I've literally told you via eye signalling that I'm madly in love with you. What more do you want from me?
Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Woman, men don't read minds. If you stare at us for 10 seconds straight, we're not thinking, oh, she's madly in love with me. We're more likely thinking, either I'm in trouble, or this woman can't stand me. Eye signals don't come with subtitles. We're not psychics. If you like a man, be direct. A subtle smile, a casual conversation, or a simple hello already makes a difference. A physical touch, or even inviting him for a coffee, sends a much clearer message than 10 seconds of staring. The problem is that many women are afraid of rejection. If you're afraid of rejection, Don't ask why, ask how. How can I approach the man I like? Instead of complaining to men, focus on taking action. Nobody here has mind-reading superpowers.
Why do men not understand hints in the slightest way possible? Okay, what happened to men being able to pick up on signals when women fancy them? Okay, I'm not making this 10-second eye contact for you to just walk out the room and pretend I don't exist.
It's because men don't understand how to read in between the lines. They're not mind readers. So if you actually like a man, you actually have to learn how to communicate and be straightforward. Some of y'all love to play all of these games and make him guess. And then you have this stupid 3-day rule about texting. Like, stop playing all of the mind games. Let's also not forget that the majority of women come online every single day and talk about medium ugly dudes and ugly men and how men aren't attractive and how they don't find men attractive at all anymore. So again, how is he supposed to read your eye contact? For all he knows, you're making fun of him, you're looking at his socks, you think his outfit's weird, and he's unattractive and has a big nose. But additionally, for the last decade, women have demonized men and villainized men into a corner to where they don't even want to look your direction, because even looking your direction, he could be sexualizing you. He could be objectifying you. He's not going to do any of that anymore because he doesn't want to risk any kind of consequences that could negatively impact the rest of his life. But not only that, is y'all have made men feel so low and so useless that the fear of rejection outweighs the actual potential of him trying to read your mixed signals. So this just seems like the consequences of your own actions, because you can't tell men that you would choose a bear over them, but then expect them to read your mixed signals and want to approach you and be friendly and get to know you. And with that being said, I have to pose the question, do you think that a man is going to understand your eye contact? Because as women, you assume that men are eye fucking you 24/7 or sexualizing you if they stare in your direction. So that's why you expect him to pick up on your hints. Just a thought. Okay, bye.
If there's a woman who was in her 20s during the 2000s watching this, tell me in the comments if it was really this bad back then. Back in the day, you could approach a woman directly without being labeled creepy or a harasser. This shift is largely due to the influence of the purple-haired movement, with pig nose rings trying to make all men out to be harassers. Today, because of that narrative, young men are afraid to approach a woman, not because they're shy, but because of the risk of being yelled at, recorded, or even having the police called on them just for saying hello. That's the reality. That's why most guys now turn to dating apps, because at least there, a text message doesn't turn you into a criminal. We understand that harassment is a real issue, but it's reached a ridiculous point. Even making eye contact can be interpreted as objectification.
I genuinely need the universe to explain. I'm over here ready to be wifed. No. I'm ready to fall so in love. Like, I'm ready to give someone serious babies. I'm 31 today, and no one is sitting across the table from me at dinner and holding my hand or telling me how beautiful I look or coming home and doing whatever it is that people do. It's unfair. It's ridiculous.
No, darling, I hate to break it to you, but what it is reality. The reality for you and millions of women just like you. And before I forget, I genuinely want to wish you a very happy birthday. I hope it went well. And I hope I'm not ruining your birthday by being the bearer of bad news. The bad news, sadly, being that the odds of you finding what you're looking for, that man to settle down with, that man to help you have babies, is probably somewhere between slim and none. Because the fact of the matter is, the majority of men, and especially the ones in your age group, the ones that you would want to, how you put it, wife you up, they're done. They have no interest in dating, certainly no interest in relationships or marriage, and even little to no interest in having children. That's the reality. And even if they did want those things, the odds are, and I don't mean to be mean by saying this, they're going to choose someone younger, someone who's more likely to be able to meet their standards and their needs. And I don't know your personal situation, but I have to wonder, how many guys in your 20s did you reject for not being good enough? How many did you friend zone? How many did you put on the back burner in hopes of finding someone better, only to realize that the smart women out there, the ones who didn't buy into the fantasy that there's a perfect man out there for every woman, just waiting to be found? You know, the ones that only exist in romance novels or Disney and Hallmark movies?
It's funny because it's true.
Many women wait until their 30s to get married and start a family, but what they don't tell them is that this is one of the worst moves they can make. In the past, older women advised younger women to get married before 25, usually to their high school or college boyfriend. But the message has changed. Now, they're told not to get married, not to be housewives, not to settle, and to only look for high-value men. They're told to be strong and independent. The problem with this mentality is that the high-value ladder has no end, but time does. And while they climb that ladder, their options decrease. By the time they hit 30, they realize they're not millionaires, they don't have the dream career, and now they want to get married. But the biological clock doesn't wait. By that point, the high-value men are no longer interested in them, but in younger women. The wall doesn't forgive, and time shows no mercy. But let's keep going because this is about to get even more interesting.
Well, as I said, those smart women didn't buy into the hype, didn't buy into the fantasy, didn't come up with an endless list of ridiculous demands and expectations of men. And because they were realistic, because they didn't have insane expectations and demands, they ended up being the ones that got wifed up because they showed themselves for what men are truly looking for: companionship, love, devotion, and being a true partner. Not some drama queen with the aforementioned never-ending expectations and demands. One who respects and appreciates the man and the relationship. Look, I get it. You were sold a bill of goods. Other women convinced you to believe that if you just went out and focused on your career, partied hard, ratcheted up a body count in the hundreds, if not thousands, that you would find true fulfillment, not just in your 20s, but for the rest of your life. And now realization has set in. Realization that while that may have been fun at the time, you're now ready to settle down, ready to start having kids, ready to be with someone for the rest of your life. The problem being, men aren't looking for women who've reached that point. The ones who, if I may be so bold as to say, are reeking of desperation. For men, there's better options out there, and that's who they're going to gravitate to. Again, I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm certainly not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just pointing out the reality of it. I genuinely hope you can find that man that wants to settle down with you and have children. But I hope you realize that it's going to be tough. And I hope you realize that the men that are left, the ones that are available, have seen how today's modern women have become so demanding, so outrageous with their expectations, and unwilling to offer anything when it comes to a relationship. They want to take, but not give anything in return. That's where we're at in today's modern society. And sadly, it's not going to change anytime soon. Men have walked away. Don't expect them to come back, because while we may be slow to make changes, once we do, they tend to be permanent.
There's not much more to add. The message is clear. Instead of betting on a man's potential, don't wait for your best years to pass. The difference is that men have a much broader time window to start a family, but women don't. Their time is more limited, and nature doesn't negotiate. You don't want to reach the point where you're freezing your eggs, because believe me, when you're in that situation, you'll realize that the wall doesn't forgive.
Why do men not understand hints in the slightest way possible?
Are you playing a game or something?
Okay, what happened to men being able to pick up on signals when women fancy them?
I'm confused, girl. Are you at a goddamn stoplight?
Okay, I'm not making this 10-second eye contact for you to just walk out the room and pretend I don't exist, babe. Making the eye contact and even giving you a smile, and you're not doing anything about it.
How about your ass give him some communication?
So you're calling me ugly and fat is what you're doing.
Now, girl, you just making shit up.
Why don't they pick up on the hints that I'm madly in love with them? I've already envisioned that we're having 10 kids and we're having 2 dogs named Bert and Alan.
Girl, what? You sure you okay? You got a little fever?
You've already met my family in my head. We're already married, we've already settled down on a farm, and I can see you milking cows, to be honest, in our future, but You're not even going to reciprocate that?
How the hell he gonna reciprocate some shit he have no clue about? You sure you don't need to be in a straitjacket?
Why do men not pick up on hints? Tell me why. I've literally told you via eye signaling that I'm madly in love with you. What more do you want from me?
To open your goddamn mouth and stop playing charades. They ain't no goddamn mind readers.
I don't think all men want to die alone, without a wife or a family. This country needs fathers, strong men to lead the next generation and preserve the traditions that made this nation great. But let's be honest, the dating landscape is in crisis. The problem isn't men, because our expectations haven't changed. We want respect, support, and peace. But the standards of many women today are unrealistic. They expect a high-value man, but there aren't enough of those men for everyone, and not all women have the beauty or qualities to attract them. If you're already in your 30s and up against the wall, it's time to take the initiative. The statistics don't lie. 3 out of 5 times, when a woman makes the first move, it works. It's not about losing dignity. It's about recognizing that the competition is real and that time waits for no one.
I do not accept a coffee or a walk as a possible date option, and neither should you. First of all, I'm not a dog that needs to be walked. Second, I have an espresso machine at home, works fabulous. We're not doing drinks either. You're gonna try to get me drunk and take me back home. No. We are doing dinner. You're gonna pick me up. We're gonna come to the restaurant. We're gonna see your table manners. We're gonna see what you order. We're gonna see, do you hold your chopsticks correctly? We're just gonna, study you a bit. Okay? So dinner it is.
Okay, if you haven't seen this video, it's the greatest. She goes on a date with a good man, and she's completely blown away by it. But I want to show it to show there are good men out there who's got their life together. Watch.
Listen, he took me back to his house, not because he wanted to do anything, because he wanted to show me the renovations he's doing in his basement. You don't go to basements on a first date, Reagan. I know, but he had barn doors. He was making a whole nother apartment all by himself. He bought this house. And he has a car. And it's nice. And his car. Did you see his car? No. It's brand new. It's a 2021 SUV. It's beautiful. It has a screen in it. Yeah. I started to forget about, everything else, and I was just like, wow, I could start living like this. He was so respectful. It was beautiful. Do you think you're going to go on a second date? He wants to bring me to his hockey game tomorrow. He wants to pick me up and bring me to his hockey game. So I can come watch him. It's so cute. He says he wants to take me thrifting beforehand. So we can pick out outfits for each other and not let each other see. And it's what we have to wear on our next date. That's what he said. It's my first white guy. I mean, no offense, but I think I kind of been missing out. He has a house at 25 years old. I'm only 22 and I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I might want to move in.
See, ladies, they're out there. I know it's shocking, but they're out there. And she actually went on a second date with him. So seems like things are going pretty good.
Oh my God! Wow!
Absolutely, there are still decent men out there with their lives in order, and for this woman, that seems to be quite a surprise. This man didn't try to impress her with extravagant spending or aim to take her to bed on the first date. He was simply genuine, open about his life and what he's building. This underscores a key point. First dates are about getting to know each other without pressure or unrealistic expectations. The date was calm, casual, and clearly effective. She didn't dress up as if she were going to a fancy restaurant because it wasn't necessary. It was something simple, probably a coffee, but meaningful enough that she now wants to keep seeing him. They even already have plans together. This is what many modern women miss out on when they insist that a man must go all out on a first date, taking them to the most expensive place in town. The purpose of an initial date isn't to dazzle, but to connect. And it's these simple women, the ones who understand this, who truly win in the dating market.
In 2021, she was all,
I do not accept a coffee or a walk as a possible date option, and neither should you. First of all, I'm not a dog that needs to be walked. Second, I have an espresso machine at home, works fabulous. We're not doing drinks either. You're gonna try to get me drunk and take me back home. No. We are doing dinner. You're gonna pick me up. We're gonna come to the restaurant. We're gonna see your table manners. We're gonna see what you order. We're gonna see, do you hold your chopsticks correctly? We're just gonna, study you a bit. Okay, so dinner it is.
fast forward present day.
I started the egg freezing process. I did some preliminary tests, which showed that my egg count is really low. And I know a lot of women struggle with this. I had a ovarian surgery last January, and I knew that I have endometriosis and I had like a giant cyst on my ovary. And the doctors told me that.
Let's just pause right there for a minute. See, she thought she had time to be making all these outlandish requests of men. Keep trying to tell y'all coochie is special, but it ain't rare. Men dictate, you follow. Or don't, and 3 years later, start making cry videos just like this woman here. Trying to set these prerequisites for table manners. Girl, please. So, men did exactly what they were supposed to do, left your ass high and dry. Ladies, understand this. You are not worth it. You're lucky we even taking you for coffee. We don't have to spend money on you. And you keep trying to set that as a standard, and you're going to end up like this crying woman here. But what I love is the makeup application. In 2021, she had on all that makeup telling y'all them lies about how y'all going to set these standards and men will follow. And then current day, men have been known for decades. Y'all's true and authentic confidence is naked, fresh out the shower with no makeup on. Moral to the story is, ladies, we are not partners, and we are most certainly not you all subservients. It is the other way around. Quit trying to dictate to us what you will and will not accept on a date, because if you set it too high, we just won't date you. We set the terms for dating, because we're the ones spending. And until you all meet the standard of putting out, you all can't set the standard of spending. And we will let all of y'all freeze dry your shit and work until you're dead. Have it your way, or have it a man's way and have a man. Boris.
The wall doesn't forgive, brothers, and karma is a ruthless teacher. This woman never wanted to accept a coffee date or anything casual to get to know a man. In her mind, she thought, why would she? She's beautiful and would always have men at her feet, right? But reality and the wall changed things after 34. You're no longer as beautiful and you're older. Your biological clock starts telling you it's urgent to get married because your window for having children is closing. It's tough when you always aimed for that high-value man, only to later find yourself unable to even start a family if the ideal man you were chasing never appears. The problem is, every year, a woman turns 21, becoming eligible for marriage, with the chance to seek a man even 10 years older than her. What does this tell you? While you stop being the most attractive model on the market, someone else takes your place, competing for the same men you want. That's why you need to make the most of that blank check of beauty God gives you to secure a man before 30. Because if you hit the wall, let me tell you, the wall doesn't forgive.
Y'all check out this coffee date shit.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. These men that want to take you out to coffee for a first date, they don't like you.
Actually, he's more into getting to know who you are than someone that takes you on an expensive date, because he's giving you his undivided attention and he's not trying to manipulate you with money.
They just want to see if you'll be there so they can come back and pick you up and play with you whenever they want.
Oh, really?
All the men in the comments are gonna be like, that's not true.
Wouldn't they know? Because they are men.
This is what men who want to go on coffee dates do.
What exactly do they do?
They want to be your pen pal. They want to reach out to you when they're feeling like they need some type of emotional connection and they need to remind themselves that they're still alive, but they don't actually want to take you seriously. They don't want to take you anywhere.
First dates are like job interviews. You talk to the person to get to know them to see if you even want to move them to the second step of the hiring process. Why take them to an expensive restaurant and they might not be qualified for the job? Go to the coffee shop, you get to know if they're qualified or not qualified enough for the job. At expensive restaurants, you're not paying attention to each other. You're paying attention to the food and all the ambience that's going on in the restaurant. At a coffee shop, you actually are paying attention to this person and getting to know this person to see if you want to hire them for the job.
I don't see it as work, but I understand your point. First dates are for getting to know each other without pressure or unrealistic expectations. It's a chance to find out if you share common interests and genuinely enjoy each other's company. That's why I always say a coffee date is ideal. The term coffee doesn't necessarily mean drinking coffee, but rather inviting the woman to a cozy cafe with a pleasant atmosphere, where the focus is on the connection between the two of you. Avoid fast food chains, as the location should show a minimum level of effort without going overboard. The idea is to get to know each other in a simple and authentic way, nothing more.
I would never say yes to a coffee date. And unless that's your thing, you should neither. I saw a creator on here and I didn't save the video, but she said, imagine your man taking like the hottest girl in your mind on a date, like Megan Fox. Do you think he'd ask Megan Fox to coffee on a first date? I knew that any man that I dated was going to treat me like royalty. I remember my friends used to ask like, how do you go on all these extravagant first dates? Because that's only what I would accept. I want to be someone's dream girl. You're going on a first date with your dream girl. If I'm not your dream girl and you can't take me to a top dining restaurant, then I don't want to go. And before you say, oh, that's too much. My boyfriend now took me to a Michelin star restaurant on our first date. And this has nothing to do with money. You could literally pop a bottle of wine on the beach and have it cost $15. The fact there's thought and it's romantic, like that's enough for me. If you ask me for coffee, automatic friend or business vibes. Ugh, we're not going for that.
Oh, hell no!
If Megan Fox is your reference for the ideal woman, we're already starting off on the wrong foot. This reflects the mindset of many women who hit the wall, thinking they're more than they actually are. It's easy to spot women dating high-value men who take them to the best places, shower them with luxuries, and make them feel special until they get what they want. Then, they disappear. Why? Because those men know they can impress with an expensive dinner or a trip, but they're not looking for anything serious with them. Take a look at the women who truly stand by those successful men. They didn't need extravagant dates to win them over. Authenticity always triumphs over ostentation, but it seems the modern woman doesn't understand that. As long as they continue to value the superficial, they'll remain just a passing chapter in those men's lives.
Why second dates matter more than first dates. Let's be honest, sometimes first dates are freaking awkward, especially if you've never met in person. You're trying to get to know her life story while also managing the logistics of being in public and trying to find opportunities to touch her all at the same time. It's a lot. So I'm actually a way bigger fan of second dates because I feel like your nerves are a little more soothed, you know each other a little better, maybe you have some inside jokes, and you can actually relax and enjoy the experience. So if you didn't make the impression that you wanted to on the first date, which is way more common than you think, then you definitely want the second date to be a home run. It's true that you don't get a second shot at a first impression, but sometimes you don't make a real impression until you get a second shot. So make it count.
I completely agree. The first date is just the beginning. It's a simple moment to get to know each other, see if there's chemistry, and share interests. If that first date goes well, on the second date, the man will show more intentions, investing more time and effort. Why? Because he sees in that woman someone worth it, someone who genuinely sparks his interest. This is how a masculine man operates. Women who don't set up so many filters for the first date often end up with the best men. These men understand that a good initial connection deserves to be strengthened, and the second date is where they elevate the experience. On the other hand, the strong and independent women who reject coffee dates, expecting a wealthy man to take them to a 5-star restaurant, often end up waiting. And when the wall comes, there are no more princesses or fancy restaurants. just the harsh reality that the wall doesn't forgive.
Tengo flan, dime tú si nos vamos. Baby, por allá, solo tú y nos enredamos. Yo no sé qué andaba buscando, solo sé que desde que te encontré.
She thought of leaving him, but then she thought, well, if I leave him, he's just going to go run to her. Then she thought of kicking him out to go back to Mexico. And then she thought, he's never going to go back to Mexico. And that's where the idea came to bring him back to Mexico. What's interesting about her is that it never crossed her mind to forgive him. Because a lot of women would think, well, what if I give him another shot? You know, what if we talk it over? Maybe he won't do it again. There's an old Spanish saying my mom used to say, perro que come huevo, ni que le quemen el hocico. Once a cheater, always a cheater. This girl got hurt, but she turned that hurt into an empowerment. He came back from Mexico. She found out that he came back. All I know is that to cross the border from Mexico, it is a brutal journey. Every sweat drop, every step he made to make it back to the U.S., he thought of her and how bad he had screwed up things for her. Love is not something you can fake. If he faked loving her just to make it to the U.S., you can fake any other emotion. Are you mad? No, I'm not mad. It's all good. But love, you can't fake love. You either love someone or you don't. And he probably didn't love her. This is not just infidelity. This is next level betrayal.
To make sure we're all on the same page, here's the context. The girl from the intro is the one who took her undocumented boyfriend back to Mexico. He had come illegally to the United States, and after cheating on her, she escorted him across the border. Feminists are applauding her for ruining this man's life. But what she didn't expect was what happened next. Now, let's dive into the second part, where this woman shares her side of the story.
This girl has gone viral because she brought her undocumented boyfriend back to Mexico because he was cheating on her. Here's your update. What had happened was he was cheating on her. They went on vacation. She wanted to retrieve some of the pictures from the vacation, so she went inside his cell phone. All hell breaks loose when she sees pictures of the other girl in his cell phone. She went into the bathroom. And she's crying, right? She is heartbroken. But at the same time, it's like the crazy Latina comes out of her and she's like, I gotta get revenge. I can't let him do this to me. He was off the next day. They lived 2 hours away from San Antonio, Texas. So she tells him, listen, why don't we go to Six Flags tomorrow since it's your day off? In her mind, she's thinking, well, we're 2 hours away from San Antonio and we're 2 hours away from Laredo, Texas. But she's thinking, we can't stop anywhere to go to the bathroom or to buy snacks because then he's going to figure things out. So she tells him, let's go buy some snacks and don't worry about driving. You know, it's 2 hours, it's late, you're probably tired from working. On the way there, she's thinking to herself, man, what am I doing? Should I be doing this? Like, I kind of feel bad. And then immediately after that, she reminds herself, no, this MF cheated on me in the worst way possible. I paid a lot of money to bring him here, and I'm going to bring his ass back to Mexico. When she gets to Mexico, customs stops her. The officer pulls her over, and now they're on the Mexico side. Officially, they're no longer in U.S. soil. So that's when she comes clean and tells him, look, you're going to cheat on me. That's fine, but you're going to have to start from zero. Let me tell you something. Coyotes, they charge thousands for you to bring someone from anywhere. This girl saved her pennies to bring this boy from Mexico. I have heard of stories of getting fired on your day off, but you get dumped on your day off and you get brought back to Mexico on your day off. You literally wake up the next day in a completely different country, a country you don't want to be in. She says that according to her, she found out that he did in fact come back to the US.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
There's nothing that motivates a woman more than revenge. You might think she achieved her goal of deporting him to Mexico, went back to her country, lived happily ever after, and he learned his lesson. But life isn't that simple. Many modern women believe their actions have no consequences, that they can ruin a man's life without ever paying the price. Because, as we all know, society doesn't care about men, right? Except she broke the law and confessed to her crimes in her viral video, which not only made her famous, but also caught the attention of federal authorities. Let's watch the next video to see why karma is, indeed, a real piece of work.
America cannot be a real place. Have y'all seen the video of that Mexican girl that called her Mexican baby daddy cheating? You know, when she brought him from Mexico here, and they were pretty much living together, building a life together, right? She caught him cheating, and she told him she was going to take him, so it was a surprise, right? Put him in the car, right? And drove across the border into Mexico. Kicked him out, gave him $50, and told him, yo, tell the other girl to bring you into America, right? You think that's crazy, right? That's not the crazy part about this, because the video went crazy viral on the internet, right? The craziest part about this is, man, that I just found out that she might do time for that. She might spend 10 years in prison for doing ISIS job, for doing the government's job, man, and taking him back to Mexico. If anything, yo, she should be a hero, bro. She saved the American tax dollars some money. How are they gonna look into lock her up now for doing that? Yo, there are so many elements to this story, man, that I don't think I could fit it, bro, in 1 to 2 minutes, man. Because the fact that she did that is fucking hilarious. I mean, that's like legendary level troll. Like, oh, you gonna cheat on me? I no problem. I'm taking a surprise. He was excited and stuff like that. Yo, when he saw him crossing the border, like, yo, where we going? Once she crossed that border, she told him where they were, and that man was like, what? And now she might go to jail for that. You can't make that stuff. Only in America, man.
Damn!
Only in America, where laws are enforced with precision, can you become a criminal for trying to get revenge on your ex. This woman, in her quest to play the avenging heroine, crossed the line. Literally. She took her ex-partner to the border, deported him on her own, all because she caught him cheating. Now, she's facing up to 10 years in prison for human trafficking, illegal deportation, and a slew of other charges. Karma is real, folks. Her revenge video went viral, and what seemed like a legendary feat is now a cautionary tale. She didn't think before acting. She just wanted to impress on TikTok, proving that unchecked emotions and social media can be a volatile mix. As one man put it, only in America can this kind of madness be dreamed up.
She could be charged. Yeah. She committed a crime. Several, actually. I'm talking about the girl that brought back her undocumented boyfriend back to Mexico because he cheated on her. No doubt he deserved it, right? No doubt. But she did break the law. First, she brought him to the US. She paid coyotes. And she wanted to legalize his status in the US. In other words, getting married to get his green card. Second, it's technically kidnapping. She brought him to a place he was not aware of. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's a crime if you bring someone without their knowledge. Third, human trafficking. I know. She crossed borders with this person in her vehicle, and she could be charged with human trafficking. And here's the worst part. If he went and filed charges against her, he could end up with a green card. I don't think that he could ever do that, but technically he could win because he was a victim of a crime. I'm telling you this so you don't get any ideas, because what she did, although he deserved everything coming to him, you don't want to be in a situation where you're breaking the law and your revenge could cost you years behind bars.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Ah, how I love ironic endings. The man now has direct access to a green card, all thanks to his ex. This feels like something straight out of an Oscar-worthy movie. Love on the border. What's amusing is that she believes he deserved it. But if every man who's been cheated on acted like her, we'd have chaos in the courts and jails full of wannabe avengers. Here's the issue. Responsibility is kryptonite for women. She thought that by recording her feet on TikTok, she was above the law. But no, this was human trafficking, kidnapping, and a breach of trust, all under the guise of emotional justice. TikTok is ruining the lives of modern women, and this is the perfect example of how an impulsive decision can make you the villain in your own story.
We need to normalize what she did. Yeah, we do. We need to normalize removing people from our lives that serve no purpose. We also need to normalize guarding our peace. Because after she found out that her boyfriend was cheating, she went to the bathroom and cried. She could have gone the other way. She could have come out and fought with him, confronted him. Why are you doing this to me? I brought you here from Mexico. I spent thousands of dollars to bring you here. I was going to give you the green card. Instead, silence. She quietly planned her exit. When I left my ex-husband on his 40th birthday, I stayed quiet for an entire year. My mother did not know I was leaving my marriage. No one knew. I stopped fighting. I was planning my exit. There's no reason to fight anymore. I was quietly removing this person that no longer served a purpose in my life. Instead, he was harming me. He was taking away my peace. Because women that get into arguments with their man, what they're asking for is, I'm not going to do it again. I promise you, I'm not going to do it again. Women like this young woman and like myself, we don't want any more excuses. We're out of there. Stop arguing with a man that is going to continue his behavior because that's who he is. He's letting you know who he is. After 10 years of marriage, I knew my ex-husband was not going to change. So I quietly left him. I woke up that morning. I kissed him happy birthday. What do you want for your birthday breakfast, honey? Yeah. I stay quiet. You need to normalize being quiet and just walking away from that toxic relationship that is going nowhere. Stop begging people to change.
Misery loves company. Brothers, here we have a woman applauding actions that could land someone else in jail. What kind of mindset sees this as something positive? What is this woman on the wall even thinking? If someone cheats on you, walk away quietly, cut contact, and move on. You don't need to plot ridiculous acts of revenge that will only drag you into legal trouble. A man would never encourage this kind of stupidity. If you're betrayed, leave the relationship with dignity, as if that person no longer exists to you. But never put yourself in a situation that could ruin your life. Social media, especially TikTok, is making women reckless, documenting every second of their lives and making decisions driven by likes and comments. Listening to someone already caught on the wall only ensures you'll follow their path. And we all know the wall doesn't forgive. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, here are some questions for you. How many years in prison do you think this woman deserves? Do you think people should take revenge if they've been cheated on? I hope you enjoyed the video. Here are 2 more videos featuring some really interesting divorce stories. If you like our content, don't forget to turn on notifications. We post daily so you won't miss the next episode of The Wall.